Welcome to Driving the Lane with Randy Kryenbrink and Chuck Rowe. Now, Driving the Lane.
Welcome to Driving the Lane. Randy Kryenbrink, Chuck Rowe, the show we talk about mostly one thing only, and that is
Panther basketball.
Now, it's important that we remind you that even though we are the official UNI basketball show for the Panther Collective, our comments may not reflect the feelings of our friends at UNI. However, Randy is a former player, and I have this kind of nifty UNI pin. Can you see this?
Oh, wow. You stick that on your, is that called a lapel or something?
Yeah, it's like a little lapel deal.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
I don't wear it, but I have it. I'll sell it to you.
I'll buy it from you.
Yeah, it's limited edition.
Normally I stick those on my hat, like my golf hat. You just stick it right through your golf hat.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
you know,
idea.
you can, you can just stick it there. That way it's just on a hat, you know?
Ooh, you know what I need to find is my UNI bucket hat you gave me.
That's right. I forgot about the
I can
bucket
put it on
hat.
my bucket hat. So,
Man, yes. I wonder where my bucket hat is, by the way. Huh, it's a good point. I got to look for that bucket hat.
that's what happens when you move. Things get put in
That's right.
boxes. You lose track of
Yes.
things. But anyways, as always, we have a great show for everyone. Joining us today, assistant coach Nate Oakland from the women's team and the Panther Collective's question of the week. And of course, the financial architect's quote of the week. Let's get started. Randy, excited to have with us today. Drum roll, please. Assistant coach for the UNI women's team, Nate Oakland. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, fellas. Good to be here.
Now, we've never had you on the show before. Would you say that this is a career highlight for you?
Oh, yeah, gotta be at the top. I don't know where I go from here. I mean, I've reached my peak.
Yeah.
No, it's great to be on. I mean, I obviously watch and listen, and we love what you do. And I feel like half the time I'm getting made fun of, so I've kind of come to clear the air.
That's a great point, because you do get picked on. You do get picked on a little bit by the girls who we do have on the program. But yeah, that's a great point. Now you get the opportunity to come back a little bit and kind of talk about them.
Yeah, they're all in for it.
Now, in all fairness, they mostly say nice things about you, right? I think like they say if they were stuck on an island and only had one person that they had to rely on, they would pick you.
Yeah.
Or I think another question was if they damaged a TV because they were screwing around in the locker room, throwing a ball around and the TV broke, who would they tell first? And I think they picked you. So
I don't think they ever picked him yet, though, for like that 2-on-2 competition.
Right. Or like we just played staff pig the other day, and you can let this be known. I mean, I flattened everybody. So
okay.
Nice.
Yeah, and the only reason that they say that I'd be the one to fix the TV is because, I have 5 kids, and that stuff happens almost daily at our house. So, but yeah, they said mostly nice things. I'm just giving them a bad time. But we got a great group of young people that we love being around every day.
So, what is your technique in winning pig? I mean, are you a 3-point guy? Are you doing some fancy layups? How are you winning?
Well, I don't want to give many secrets away, but KO pushed me to the limit because she can really shoot it. So I made a couple trick shots. Let's just call it that.
Okay.
A left-handed free throw is probably my go-to. It gets most people out, but I save that to, like, if I ever had to play Randy, I'd be the deck would be stacked against me, but I'd probably have to go to some left-handed free throws or even 3-pointers just to try to get a letter or two on Randy.
If you pulled out the left hand, which I don't have, yeah, I would be in trouble.
That's my only chance then.
Now, you grew up in the Cedar Falls area, obviously, and tell us about your experience playing high school on some of those teams during your time.
Oh, man. Well, I was a maybe barely average high school player, but played for Hall of Fame coach and Coach Slykehouse at Cedar Falls, and had a great experience and still stay in touch with a lot of those guys today. Ben Nemers was probably our go-to player. Ended up having a great career. Coach McDermott recruited him out of high school. Our coach was hard. He was tough, and somebody who really, really pushed you to play as hard as you can for as long as you can. And the game was a little bit different back then. I think we averaged about 45, 46 points a game. We ran long possessions. We reversed the ball side to side. But we really hung our hat on defense and rebounding. And at the end of the day, like I said, he really taught you how to play hard and play together. And some lessons and some things that we still hold true to this day. So fortunate to have that experience. But yeah, growing up in Cedar Valley, I mean, I don't know how long we have, but I could talk at length about just growing up a lifelong Panther fan and being around, this campus and this community my whole life for the most part. So I love wearing the purple and gold and wear it proud.
We rarely do we have coaches on the program. So Nate, thanks for joining us, number one. But number two, so kind of maybe talk about your journey, kind of how you ended up being a Panther assistant coach as well. So kind of to walk us through your college experience and how you got here.
Well, this is my second stint. So the first one, they probably haven't had too many people on here either that kind of remember watching you play and being in the dome, and we played some games. And I remember going over to McElroy Auditorium to watch a few UNI games when the dome roof collapsed. So I went to Eldon Miller's camps growing up as a kid. Like that, this is it's what I knew. And I had a few stints like a lot of kids growing up in this area. Well, I kind of like the Hawks, and now I kind of like Fred Hoiberg and the Cyclones. But you always come back to your roots. So my journey after high school, I decided I wanted to try to play. Wasn't quite good enough. I could play golf a little bit, but then I came back to UNI. I didn't want to go to UNI initially because my mom taught for years at NU High and taught at UNI. And I said, I got to get out of town, right? I got to get away from mom. But I am coming back. And when I came back, decided that, okay, if I can't play, what I want to do? Well, I wanted to be around the game. I wanted to coach. I wanted to try to have an impact on people. So Ben Nemmers, as I mentioned, had played for Coach McDermott. Coach Mack had just been hired as the head basketball coach. And I went in to his office late in the fall and said, hey, I don't know what I want to do. And he's like, well, we got 7 managers, but some of them are graduating. You want to come back next year? We'd love to have you. But have you ever met the women's coach? His name's Tony DeCecco. And I'm like, I mean, this guy sounds like he's in The Sopranos. Sure, I'll go meet with him. And went in and met with Tony D that day when all their offices were up in the dome, men and women's basketball. And Tony said, come to practice today. So that's really how the journey began. Fast forward a couple of years, I coached in high school in a small college, and then came back. Tony hired me back as a GA. And after that next year was when he retired and they hired Tanya. Rick Hartzell, who I owe a lot to, somebody that I hold dearly in my heart, hired Tanya and was able to stick around for her first few years. So that kind of started the journey. And then I've been all over the Midwest the last few years and have found myself, everything comes full circle. I found myself back. So that was as quick as I can make it. Sorry, that was kind of a long answer.
No, that's awesome.
So it's not uncommon at like maybe a smaller college that the coaches will often coach a variety of sports. Do you miss being able to maybe coach some of these other sports as well, or do you like focusing just on basketball?
That's a great question. My first college job as an assistant, I got to coach the men's and women's tennis team. I don't miss that because I knew how to keep score. That was about it. I had spent some time at Wartburg as an assistant coach with Bob Amsbury, who's another Hall of Famer. And shortly after being up there, the golf coach got a new job. It was the middle of the season, and so I said, hey, let me do that. I really enjoyed that. And that helped me grow and mature as a coach too, as I had to wear that hat and do all the other things that come along with being a head coach. So I miss some of that. My wife doesn't miss that because in the fall and in the spring, I would be out of the golf course every day, which I already like to do in the summer anyway. So I don't think Alex misses that too much of me being gone even more than I am. But that's one of the cool things about small colleges. Yeah, not only do you get to coach, but I miss teaching more. I taught a lot of classes. Sports psych was my master's. I taught some sport management, taught some exercise and physiology, and some of those things. Like that's what I miss the most because you get to meet other students and other student athletes. So this time in my life, I don't know if I'd have the time to do that again, but that's something down the road I would definitely entertain again. I definitely miss those interactions.
So when you pool all that together, right? You worked as an assistant under numerous coaches. Obviously, you've coached men, you've coached women. When you pool that all together, like, is there one coach or a couple different coaches out there that you say that you were with and said, I want to be like that guy, or I want to be like that gal?
Oh man, yeah. You try to take a little bit of everything, but the most important thing I learned is you got to be who you are. When I was a high school coach, I tried to be like this person or like that person. And it wasn't good. And I was a lot younger then. But to answer your question, yeah, like how can you take some of the things that you've learned? You know, like I worked for Randy Peterson, Randy Henderson, and her and I have a great relationship. And there's some things that I still really try to emulate how she is and how she interacts with the team. Obviously being around Tanya every day, I mean, you're not going to find a better relationship builder and somebody who can really get to know people. And that's really what it's all about. I mean, we can all draw up cute plays. You know, and then there's some other things like Bob Amsbury. I think what I really learned from him is that he's always right here, you know, and I think they just won the league again up at Wartburg. So I know I'm going to leave a few people out, but yeah, how can you take some of those little things and then connect to what you are, connect to what your fire is and what your passions are, and then make it you? To me, that's the most important thing.
Well, obviously you worked with both Tony and Tanya. What were some of their strengths that were maybe different from each other?
I mean, Tony was a master. Tony was a master, I would say, motivator, right? Like he was going to talk and he was going to talk to everybody and he was going to fire the room up. And he was really, really great at that. You know, so I learned that there's a part of this profession, a part of this job I learned at a young age that you have to, what I would say, like kiss babies and shake hands and do the stuff that, you know, what you have to do, especially at a Division I level. And he was really good at that. And he was really passionate about, you know, when he took the job here, they would get about 24 people into the Uni Dome to watch the women play. And I remember one of the first games that I was a manager for, we played Iowa State in the West Gym and the fire marshals were there turning people away. So that's pretty cool. And I think that, you know, Tony took it from here and really got it going. And then, you know, Tanya came in her press conference, she brought in signs that said Missouri Valley champs, you know, and there was a vision there and there was a goal there to create a culture, not just a program, and to create a program, not just a team. And so she spent a lot of time in her first few years and it was hard. And we still talk about it in the offices. You know, recently we talked about it, how it takes a long time to create the culture, to create a program that then sustains itself. And I think at UNI, we're really, really fortunate, especially in the basketball world, to be around two culture builders and two program builders. And both Coach Tanya and Coach Jake have established that. So I don't know if to answer your question, I don't know if that's different. But each coach in that role, Tony knew what his role was: take him from the bottom and get it going, get in momentum. And then Tanya took the keys and ran with it. And you know, we're all seeing still to this day what that can do and how that sustains. You see a lot of divisional programs that can't sustain it. They try quick fixes and then the portal and they're recruiting differently. So yeah, just fortunate to be around and see how, again, they were who they were, and then they took what they needed to do with where the program was at in that moment and run with it. So pretty cool. I mean, we're all pretty fortunate here, whether we're fans or staff or players or just anybody in the community.
Yeah, we are blessed in the Cedar Valley, obviously, with the men's and women's programs, what they do in the community. I mean, you as coaches obviously send them out to the community to be visual, to be vocal. I mean, which is awesome, and it just helps both programs, right? So I guess my question is kind of is, so we come to the 23-24 season, which we're currently in right now. We've talked to numerous girls that you have on the team, and you guys took your lumps early. And so we've talked to them about, you know, kind of what's the mental part, the physical part, what you go through. So talk to us a little bit about how the season started off in 2023. Obviously, you had a lot of injuries. Kind of talk us through that, how you coached the team, how you talked to them. Obviously you've talked to a lot of them in the training room, probably, because that's where they were.
Yeah,
but kind of talk to that mental, physical aspect of that early start of the 23 season.
Yeah, we were a team with high aspirations and picked to win the league. And you know, you still gotta prepare. Everybody now has a big target on your back, and I thought that we were on our way to do that, and then we just got hit, boom, 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 to the point where I think when we got to Christmas break, we'd had one full practice with everybody, including our fall workouts. You know, we do almost a month of fall workouts.
Right.
By the time we got to Christmas break, we had one full practice. We had 90. Chris, our SRD, would tell you we had 93 seconds of actual in-game play in non-conference with the full roster. So, you know what, that's part of sports. You're going to get knocked down, and it's how you respond and how you get up. So, you know, you really try to just focus on getting better and controlling what you can every day. And we try to stay true to that. And at the end of non-conference, the record didn't reflect, you know, what our goals and aspirations were. We had to pivot a little bit and adjust, but we had, again, with the roster being beat up a little bit, we had some players that get some different experiences and different minutes played and different roles played. But I think we were third in the country in non-conference strength of schedule behind UConn and South Carolina. So not only had we been beat up, but we got to play the best, and we just kept saying, you know, this is going to prepare us. It's going to prepare us for conference. Our conference is good, but you know, we got to play Iowa, we got to play Iowa State, we got to play Creighton. So at the end of the day, right now, we're in a league that's probably a one bid league anyway. And so for us, our goal is to be playing our best basketball now as we head mid-February into March, or end of February into March. You know, that's really where it really matters. So we feel like we're getting close, and we feel like our players have really bought into that and have stayed true to what we all, and everybody talks about the process of that. But that is, you know what, every day we're trying to be as best we can today. Wednesday, tomorrow we'll leave and we'll go to Belmont. We'll talk about being 1-0 on Thursday, and that's really it. And we try to stay focused on being in the moment, and being present, and being the best we can as a team today.
So to your point, the past several games, minus a really close game against Drake, your past several games have been really good. Not only have you won, but you've been like killing the competition. What's the secret the past several games that's been making things click?
Well, we got dealt with some more adversity against Drake. You know, Drake's leading the league for a reason. We spotted them a 20-3 lead, and they hang on, and we did. We came back and battled and made it a 2-possession game for a stretch. But yeah, honestly, I think you're really seeing a team gel, right? And a team that when we got Givo back, which I think is about a month ago to the day, there's some things you got to work through when you bring people back as well. You know, and everybody says, oh man, finally we're back. Well, your rotations are different, but the biggest thing is now we got to get our cohesiveness back. And what you're seeing is a group that now has had multiple weeks of practice together and multiple games of okay, here's this person coming in here, and here's that person going there. And besides that, our team has really gotten back to playing defense and really gotten back to guarding and making it really hard. And when you're playing better defense, then you're a better rebounding team. And yeah, to your point, Chuck, we were looking at the conference stats yesterday, and we have the largest win margin average through the first 12 games in conference. Now we're 8-4. So is some of that attributed to we were a little beat up, maybe. But can we continue to climb the ladder in the league, and how are we doing that? Hang our hat on the defensive end and the rebounding end. And then the other exciting thing for me is I spend most of my time watching the fun part of the offense. You know, we're ranked nationally in assist to turnover ratio. Our turnover percentage per some analytics is really, really low, means we don't turn it over. You know, and that helps with the players that we have, but their attention to detail and how they've continued to become cohesive. I think you're starting to see the team that we were picked to be way back in September.
And you have your normal folks like Maya, Grace, Emerson,
Right.
You hear those names, but some people that have, maybe come out of their shell a little bit is Kayba. During the first half of the season, she had a strong game or two, but since the new year, she can go off like crazy. Has something mentally changed in her? Is something different in the playbook? Is she getting more opportunities? What's going on?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I think what you're seeing is when we wrapped up first semester, I know this, Kayba would come in and watch film, and she would be a little frustrated. And what she did is she started putting in more time on her own, right? She started to go to the gym more on her own. And so, yes, it's something changed, mentally for her. Yeah, her confidence has really grown. And it's funny when you start putting in the time and putting in the reps, what happens. And so it's all her. I mean, we haven't been calling more plays. We haven't been running she's just become really, really hard to guard with her movement away from the ball, but also her confidence. And when she gets an open one, she's hitting it. The other day is a great example. I think she had 26 points on 13 field goal attempts, so her efficiency is off the charts as well. And then she's also made herself more than just a 3-point shooter. And I think at this level, men's or women's, you can't just be one dimensional and be a really, really good player and a high impact player. So it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch. I mean, she's my daughter's favorite player, so it's more fun after games when we win and when Kayba's lighting it up to see Quincy go give her a big hug and a smile and take some pictures. So, but that's definitely had a huge impact. And with Emerson going down, I think there's probably a little bit of Kayba who said, okay, now I need to. So we're really excited for her and where she's at and what the last month of the season, hold for her.
Talking about Emerson going down, I had the opportunity to visit with you a little bit about that situation, all that fun stuff, but that obviously is a horrible thing for Emerson. She ended up with 999 points. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. You got something in the bag for her, or
yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be. I don't know if it's public yet, but
okay,
yeah,
perfect.
we're working on something for her, and I think it's gonna be a special moment. And yeah, if you can take a bad situation and make it worse, that was it, man. But
right, yeah.
The older I get, the worse those get, and
yeah.
But I know with her work ethic, and AJ had he had 2 surgeries. And I don't know if anybody's been following on, people around here probably don't know, but he had 27 the other night with the Bucks. And so we're confident with her work ethic and she's going to come back better. She's going to come back stronger. It's going to be her last year with all her roommates last year. So, what we're doing now, yes, we have high expectations to continue to climb and continue to compete and win our conference tournament and get to the NCAA tournament. But when you really look at it, with all we've had to go through and all the adversity and all the injuries, there's a beautiful story being written, and some of that is gonna come to fruition next year as well.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, we had both Maya, Grace, and Emerson all on the show a couple weeks ago talking about being part of the 1,000-point club. We were all super excited. So it was a real bummer to see at 999 getting injured. But I guess the question is, especially with maybe your major in school, how do you relish the opportunity to that transitioning of a role from being a coach on the court to being a coach off the court for someone like Emerson?
Well, that's really what we do. And when I was younger, it was, I want to drop all these fun plays and I want to win a lot of games. And, I think what we really try to do, and I think that, again, you look at most programs on our campus too, you've got coaches that are transformational. They're not transactional. And so you need to be able to do that more so off the court than you do on the court. And what we do is, 5% of our job is the actual on the court. So how can we recruit the right people, cultivate them, help them grow and help them learn and who they want to become, and then how can we let them go out in the real world and have a great impact in whatever line of work or whatever profession they go into. So I don't know if that really answers your question, Chuck, but that's why we do what we do. I mean, I look like I haven't slept in 3 or 4 weeks. That's probably true. Because at the end of the day, I want to compete. I want to win. That's what motivates me. That's what fuels me. That's what drives my fire. But we're really fortunate to be around young people who are motivated and driven themselves, who we can hopefully have an impact on where they go and what they do, so that then they can then turn around and do the same. Because we mentioned like Coach Slikas, and my fires. My parents were told they weren't going to have kids, right? And so they moved out west, and who knows what they were doing out there in the 70s in California. But then all of a sudden I come along, like that fuels me, right? I had people that shouldn't have, poured into me and shouldn't have given me an opportunity. Shouldn't have, even when I first got to UNI, believed in me, and they did. And so that's why we do what we do. We want to win. We want to win championships. But we should be more of a coach off the floor than on the floor if we're really in it for the right reasons.
Yeah, that is a great point, because basketball is a window, it's an opportunity, and it doesn't last forever. And so you do need to raise these kids. You're part of a parent. I mean, Jim Barry was that for me. I mean, he was my second father, right. And helped me become today who I am. So, which is kind of cool. And for you to be passing that forward is kind of cool. So talk a little bit about the recruiting process, right? So we've had this conversation with many people. I think you and I have had this conversation a little bit, but let's talk about, so we're recruiting Emerson Green, right? And not only do you look at Emerson, right, but you go deeper than that. I mean, you go to like her parents. I mean, how her actions or reactions. I mean, you watch more than just her X's and O's and her stats, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to have some stats, right? You got to be able to shoot it a certain way and score and rebound. But you know, when we go to high school game, I was at a high school game last week. Obviously, we go to quite a bit. I'd rather watch them when they pick up their third foul in the first half, or when they pick up their fourth foul, you know, with 7 minutes to go and they got to sit out. Or when there's a bad call made. You know, I was at the Pete Holmes 7th grade boys, you know, classic last night, and the amount of players who were going, you know, I'm like, okay, we got a lot of growing up to do, but they're in 7th grade. My son was one of them, so I'm not picking on anybody, right? You know, and honestly, what we started to do, you can go to AAU events now and see a lot of players, which is why we go, but you get to watch a lot of parents. And whether we agree or disagree on this, we're recruiting the parents as well, you know, and we're watching how the moms and dads react to good games, good calls, bad calls, blowouts, close games. And you can learn a lot about the family dynamic, you know, and how these kids are going to respond, because college athletics is not for everybody, and Division I athletics is not for everybody. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of layers that go into that. You know, and do you get it right every time? No. I mean, I know I've screwed up. But I think that when you, at the end of the day, you want to have a cohesive unit, a group that cares about each other, a group that plays for each other. And those are your most successful teams. It's not always the most talented players, you know, and I get asked weekly, well, why aren't you recruiting this person? Why aren't you recruiting that person? Sometimes I can tell them the truth. Sometimes I can't, but you know, we're pretty meticulous in who we choose and why. And again, you're going to make mistakes along the way, but if we can continue to recruit the right people and the right families, then we're going to continue to enjoy what we get to do.
So are there any current players right now that you tend to have just a special relationship with because you were responsible for their recruiting?
Well, you know, this is my second year, so not really. You know, I was involved with recruiting Bree late. So when I got hired, we ended up having a scholarship come open, and we needed to find an athletic, tough-nosed guard. And I had a relationship with somebody over in that part. She's from Lincoln, so I had somebody with relationships over there. You know, more so the next class coming in. So, you know, we already have a commitment in the 25 class, you know, the juniors right now. And we're already recruiting some sophomores. We already have a short list of some freshmen in high school, which is weird because my daughter's a freshman. So now I'm really starting to feel old, and my hair would look like Randy's and have a little gray on it, but I don't have any. So, so yeah, not specifically Chuck, because I just haven't been back long enough. You know, 2-3 years ago, I was at Upper Iowa trying to recruit a lot of players and trying to recruit the most talented players so we can get that program off the ground. So, you know, I tried to get here and try to build some relationships and cultivate those relationships with their current roster and their current players that were coming.
So if you could pick one thing to do all day, every day, would it be playing basketball or golf? I was going to, okay, golf, no question. So what's your handicap?
We can't talk about that. I mean, yeah,
I can talk about mine. My handicap is my driver and my putter. My putter and my driver. They're my handicap right now. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Chuck, I can answer if you want, but people are going to start to go, wait a minute. What? So why? I mean, he probably shouldn't be.
Well, and the other thing we have to remember is that, like you said earlier, you do have 5 kids around the house breaking TVs and breaking furniture that you have to repair and also take care of. So, let alone their teenagers, right?
Yes.
We don't need to say anymore.
No, Chuck, this is what I'll say, right? For the Boys and Girls Club, when you have a fundraising golf outing, or you need somebody to come be your ringer, I'll be your guy. How's that?
Okay. So is there, like, when you think of the athletic department, maybe women's, men's basketball, or whoever else, is there a certain group that you tend to go golfing with? And what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I have some of our guys in the community, and you guys know some of them. We got a pretty solid group, and I think all of them but one are diehard Panther fans, so that's kind of fun. You know, PJ, he's got the itch, you know, and PJ, we've got him to slow down his tempo a little bit and work on his short game a little bit. PJ can get it in the 70s now. I don't know if he's told you that, but PJ, you know, PJ also has a little bit of a temper. Well, I used to, but PJ has a little bit of a temper. So We get
Is
PJ's
PJ
temper right
PJ
here. What's that?
PJ's competitive, you said?
Right. Right. But PJ can play. Coach Jay can play. You know, Tuttle's got a good swing. Sometimes he just gets in these funks where sometimes it does that. But you know, those guys can all play. Coach G though can't play. But honestly, you know, on the women's side, Brad grew up in Oregon, and Brad was like at one point was the best amateur in the younger amateur in the state of Oregon. So Brad's
Wow.
starting to get back into it now. I think it's good for him. He's been through a lot, but Nelson can play. Tanya, no, she knows she can't play. She doesn't want to try to start. So she's very supportive though of our habits and knows that in the off season we need a little bit of free time.
So 4-person best shot, and you can only pick from your players. Only your players.
Great question.
Who you gonna take on your other 3 players on your team from only your players?
Well, I'm probably gonna bring Jibo and Rach because I think they can just bomb it.
Okay.
Or they're gonna try, right? They're gonna try to hit it as far as they can.
What you need, yeah.
Yeah. Then after that, you know, I've got to see some of them at our golf outing. Man, I don't know. I don't know if I could find a 4th because they're not very good at golf.
Well, then you got to look for entertainment, right? So who?
Yeah, so we're probably gonna bring Kayba because I think she probably would just love driving the cart around and making sure everybody was fueled up and having a good time. So there you go.
Okay. Yep, filled it out.
Yeah.
Now your wife is all-time UNI great Alex Oakland. Now I know she coaches some youth basketball.
Mhm.
So if the two of you went head-to-head coaching, what would be the difference between your coaching styles?
Well, you know, I'm especially as I spent 5 years being a head college coach, and I learned that the more amped up and crazy I got, the crazier my team got, and the more mad the refs got at me. So she's intense, and that's how she played, right? And she was gonna, and I'm a little bit more stoic and I'll get fired up now and then. Don't let me lie, but you're gonna see her standing up and firing and going, and I'm just gonna kind of just be back in the trenches, hopefully clapping a high five. But that's why she was also a great player. I wasn't, so maybe that's on me.
You know, Chuck, I need to throw this in here. I am having the opportunity to watch older Alex coach my youngest granddaughter, and I am super thrilled and excited to watch that happen because I'm excited that Alex is on the court, helping her out become who she might become in a little basketball player and as a person, right? Because Alex is also just a great person, kind of like Nate. So that's really cool. But I'm looking forward to watching Alex run that little program. And when you're talking 4th graders, it's kind of cool because she's molding little minds there and little bodies, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I shouldn't. I'm not trying to knock her or make fun of her at all, but
No, I know.
For to have a young mother like that, and we need more, right? And there's a lot of young females in this area that are starting to do it, and I think it's fantastic. The only issue we have is that we have too many other kids going other different directions. Otherwise, she would do it more, and she's great at it.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun for her. You know, she's really, really competitive and still is. So, you know, our rule is she doesn't get to ask me questions after her game until the next day, because it's always like, hey, what was that? What are you guys doing here? So she's still really competitive. It helps fuel her competitive fire. And, you know, I think she's probably one of the best around at it. So.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
So if you had the same rosters and you're coaching against each other, the same exact rosters, who wins?
What's today? What's the date to the tomorrow? Valentine's. Yeah, she's killing us. She's
Good answer. Good answer.
Valentine's Day. Yeah, we got no chance.
Well, before we let you go, do you have anything else you want to share with Panther fans?
No, we love where we're at. We love the people around here. We're really fortunate. You know, I stop at Panera every once in a while, and we got a lot of loyal fans at a lot of places, and couldn't do it without them. And what we're really looking forward to is we're getting into the most exciting time of year for basketball. You know, we're playing some meaningful games here in February that are going to lead to some March Madness, and it happens every year. So I'd encourage you to get out. You know, we have 3 more home games. the last weekend, February 29th, March 2nd is, we're going to try and do some things for our seniors and do some of those special things for people that have been here. Simo, right? Kaylin Morgan's been here for 5 years and her whole family. We've had a lot of Morgans come through, and I know you've had her on. Like, I think that's an important day to show out for her. So appreciate what you guys do. Appreciate what the collective is doing. We're excited as we're looking for a new athletic director, and it's been a blessing to have Bob Bowlesby back around. And so a lot of exciting things coming, and just continue to get out, support, and reach out. If you need tickets, hit me up on Twitter. If you need gear, let me know. Like, we're able and willing to continue to provide for all of our Panther fans and everybody in the community. So thanks a lot.
Financial Architects quote of the week: surround yourself with those on the same mission as you. Right? You become who you hang around with, Chuck.
Yeah. I can do a better job of that. I've noticed when it comes to anything that I tend to succeed at, it's usually because the other people around me. They make me look good.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
So as always, great quote there, Randy. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck.
Did you make that one up yourself? Is this your deep quote?
I kind of, every once in a while I make up one, but very rarely. So I stole that one.
This is from somebody else. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's a great one. So good for you, good for me, good for everybody. It's time to say goodbye from Chuck and Randy. See you next week. Enter the closing music.